to really download when you have experiences like this. So right now I'm going to open the mic up for many of you to come up and share your experiences. You know, tell us what you used to think about hospice and end-of-life care, what you now think, and how that is going to impact on your future care of your patients. So who wants to share?
You know, as a med student, learning everything we learn and the simulations and everything, it's like take control, like find out what's going on and fix the problem, and that's just not, you know, really an option. But what I think it does is it takes the control away from the doctors and saying, like, you know, let's try this, let's administer this, and it gives control to the patient.
Every day after she goes to see the patient, they have a team meeting with the social worker, the nurse, and the doctor. They make a hospice team, like that's what we read about, or that's what we read, and then to see that that's actually how it is done was pretty cool. And so I hope to be, if I am dealing with hospice, I hope that I have a good team to work with.
We saw two patients, both of which one of them was dying with heart disease, and he said he consistently felt pain throughout his chest, his shoulders, and his back. And one thing that he said that really struck me was, I know that God's taking care of me because it makes it bearable. Both of my patients, or the patients that we saw, openly admitted that they were ready to move on to the next stage of life, regardless of what they were going through. And I think if they didn't have that kind of emotional, spiritual support, that it would have been much, much worse for them. So we should definitely, in my opinion, cater to that as physicians to help people both physically and emotionally and spiritually as well.
He actually looked at me and laughed and said, by the way, it's okay to talk about death. Because I was talking so much about his family, and he just laughs and looks at me and he's like, it's okay to talk about death. And I noticed what he meant right when he said that, right when he mentioned that his son had died. What he was trying to say was that even though he's going to die, there's something to look forward to. He gets to see his son again.
In regards to the patient, sure enough, she was very witty. One of the first things, one of the nurses introduced her, she said, oh look, I got these two young gentlemen with me here today. And she looks over at us and says, I could do better. The first thing she said. So it was kind of nice to see on the patient side as well that this 102-year-old lady was still being, you know, so witty, so funny, so optimistic.
The social worker kind of came in and he initially said, you know, how do you feel? You know, are you sad? Do you feel any pain? But he didn't really ask how she was doing and, you know, talk about her day or anything. And he went out of the room for about 5 minutes, and I was with Ashton, and she kind of seemed incompetent when he was talking to her initially. She just didn't really seem like she was there. And he walked out, and I noticed she was drinking a cup of coffee, and so I said, oh, do you like coffee? And we started talking about coffee, and I told her, I love coffee, I'm addicted, I drink it like 4 times a day. And I started talking about hazelnut and vanilla, and she started laughing and having a great time, and I started talking about TV and the weather, and she said, oh, the weather must be so nice outside. And all of a sudden, this woman who was incompetent was competent, because you were talking to her about life and things that she wanted to talk about. I don't think they want to talk about dying.
The nurse was super strong. I mean, she had a candid conversation with the wife outside of the room where the patient was, and the wife just broke down, and me and Jackie couldn't hold back our tears either. It was just very emotional. But the nurse was just, you know, she was normal, she was poised, and I just had a lot of admiration for somebody who can deal with that and still keep their own emotions intact.
The only caregiver for her at that time was her daughter. She's 60, and she had her own health problems to deal with as well. And it didn't take much inquiry, really just like one question from the social worker, and she broke down and she started crying and telling her about like all the troubles she's been having with herself. It takes only like a second just to ask family how they're doing, how they're handling it, and really just a few words of comfort seem to go a long way.
The one comment I do have is the one person was talking about how when the patient is comfortable in dying, that the physician is no longer in control. And I have the complete opposite feeling, which is I am in complete control now because we have all these things we could do, but what we're doing is the absolute best for the patient and the family.